As I mentioned yesterday when I was in committee and I presented a few bills, no one could have predicted how quickly this health crisis would transform our lives. And although there's a lot of uncertainty moving forward, we can be absolutely certain that our pre-pandemic problems of housing, of homelessness, of addressing our climate crisis, these problems still exist and certainly will only get worse as we shift our focus to address our current health crisis. And don't get me wrong, addressing this health crisis is and should be our #1 priority, but we also need to do everything we can to prevent existing problems from getting worse. And so with that said, Madam Chair, I'm pleased to be here and present Assembly Bill 2954. Here in California, our landmark environmental law, AB 32, the Global Warming Solutions Act of 2006, established a comprehensive program to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from all sources here in California. AB 32 requires that the California Air Resources Board that we develop a scoping plan, a plan that describes our approach, the approach our state will take to reduce greenhouse gases here in California. The scoping plan must be updated every 5 years. And in preparation for the next plan update, I'm proud to introduce this bill here today. It's a bill that will ensure that the next plan update fully consider and leverage the huge power of California's natural and working lands in achieving California's ambitious greenhouse gas emission goals. As highlighted in the committee analysis, natural and working lands comprise over 90% of California's diverse and beautiful landscape. This includes forests, rangelands, farms, urban green spaces, wetlands, and soils. And these lands have potential to sequester significant amounts of carbon. AB 2954 is a simple, straightforward, but important bill. It would require the California Air Resources Board to work in collaboration with other relevant state agencies and departments and identify an overall climate goal for California's natural and working lands. According to the bill language, this overall climate goal will identify actions to sequester carbon and reduce atmospheric greenhouse gas emissions, identify practices, policy incentives, and potential reductions in barriers that would help achieve this climate goal for California's natural and working lands. Why is this bill important? As a state, we must remain steadfast in our commitment and efforts to reduce new emissions of carbon. But we also needed to ensure that we develop pathways to remove carbon from the atmosphere, otherwise known as the negative emissions. Leading researchers from throughout the world agree that if we're going to fend off the worst impacts of climate change, we must maximize methods to sequester or capture carbon. Clearly, there's no silver bullet when it comes to removing CO2 from the atmosphere. There's no single technology or method to provide all of the CO2 removal that is required. But what we do know is, one, there are natural ways to capture and sequester carbon, and two, there are ways to capture carbon that involve complex engineering, and quite honestly, require a technological breakthrough, will require investment in infrastructure, and involves numerous logistical and regulatory hurdles, all of which are possible. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take money. And the second point underscores our need to fully leverage the potential of our natural and working lands in our climate conversation here in California. Natural solutions for sequestering or capturing carbon are relatively inexpensive, can be implemented with little infrastructure, and are available to us right now. These natural solutions include land management, restoration of woodlands and wetlands, and other practices that increase the amount of carbon stored in trees and soils. As detailed in the committee analysis, it's estimated that our natural and working lands have the potential to contribute up to 70% of California's greenhouse gas reduction goal. In addition to providing additional some positives or some benefits, such as improved water quality, air quality, food production, land conservation, and wildfire prevention. Again, passage of this bill would provide for an overall climate goal for California's natural and working lands. The Air Resources Board would identify best practices, policy incentives, and potential reductions in barriers that would help achieve this goal. In this way, the bill will ensure that natural and working lands are a vital component of our state's climate plan. And this is an opportunity to build on available data and research by advancing natural ways to help California achieve emission reductions, not to mention contribute to our ecosystem's overall health. The value of natural and working lands to California's environment, to our economy, and to our communities cannot be overstated, Madam Chair.